Hey everyone, welcome to Unique Ways with Thomas Gerard, an audio podcast. Got a really great guest on today. She's an American visual artist known for thought-provoking images and expressive poster design. Her work has won international acclaim and is represented in the permanent collections of the Museum of Modern Art in New York, among many others. Please join me in welcoming Luba Lukova. Welcome.
Thank you, Thomas. So nice to speak with you today. I think we're gonna have some fun, and I'm ready to answer all your questions.
Great, yeah. So you're ready for 20 questions.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yes.
Question one, tell me a little bit more about yourself. What do you do?
Well, I do everything that is associated with images and speaks to people, try to express something that I care about and we all care about. So yeah, everything that can be told through images is what I'm interested in, which includes, like you said in the introduction, posters, printed images, three-dimensional gallery installations, public art. mm, Everything that an image can be uh, used as a means to really say something above the words. That also includes illustration and graphic design in every form you can imagine, from editorial, book, logos, and all kinds of visual interpretations that you can think of. And most recently, I'm also working in three-dimensional sculptural forms, which I will be showing in the near future. So yeah, but to me, an image is interesting to work on only if I'm able to get a reaction from the viewer, which is beyond just the visual pleasure, but just to trigger thinking, to trigger even reaction, conversation with my viewers. So yeah, that's my interest, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I've never been bored doing it.
Great. Okay, so question two, what's a key piece of knowledge that makes you different?
I don't know about different. I guess we all are different in our own way without even thinking about it. And if you have managed to come up with a style that people recognize, this to me is a result not so much about intentionally looking to be different, but rather working long enough in an area and being completely devoted and honest to what you do. And then I think at some point a style or something that makes you different can emerge, but this never should be, I think, a goal when you approach a new piece or just tackle a different topic that you've never heard before. But rather, I think it's the idea to be completely kind of devoted to understand what you want to say, to have a clear idea, maybe if not clear in the beginning, but to have an idea of how you can really be unpretentious, not thinking about superficial effects, but just to be genuinely, profoundly honest with the work. So for me, like I told you, this was something that I started thinking about long time ago. When I was a student, I had a professor who noticed that some of the other students were trying to mimic this and that well-known artist, and he very peacefully told to all of us, to the entire class, to never think about style, but rather to immerse in what we are working and be devoted to do it the best way we can. And that's exactly what he said. Sooner or later, for those of you that will really continue doing this through your entire life, sooner or later you will develop a unique, different way of doing it. And back then, this impressed me a lot, and I listened to it. And he was right. I feel that yes, after working for years and years, you realize, first of all, to me, I realized what people react the most, and I think the people react the most when I'm drawing other people because people like to see themselves mirrored in art. So as much as I, as a young art student and young kid, I was attracted by abstract shapes and forms and colors. I realized that for me, if I want this to be my career, I kind of use images that people can relate to in a more emotional level or just more of immediate level, you know. So drawing human forms, transforming them, of course, doing visual metaphors with them and addressing issues that we care about. Maybe that kind of shaped some sort of recognizable qualities in my work, maybe different than this big, like in this big world of art, to try to find your own different sound, you know. But it should come naturally, it shouldn't be forced, and should not be a priority when you approach any project to be different, but just to be truthful, I think. And then inevitably you will develop some unique qualities that can be only your own. So that's how I approach every project.
Great, wonderful. Question three is why this, of all things, why do you do what you do?
Um, hmm, well, why do I do? For me, this started at a very early age. My grandmother was a visual artist, and when I was a little kid, I was left with her alone during the day because both of my parents worked. My dad was an engineer, my mom was a chemist. So when they would leave early in the morning, I would spend time with my grandma, and she had a studio in the house and worked there, and I was always with her. And she never pushed me into the arts. It was just natural. I would try to probably mimic, or just like every kid, I would draw and paint. And definitely, maybe she saw that this is something that comes easily to me, and she would encourage me to try again if it doesn't look good, and that. So at that time, that's everything I knew. Back then, nothing would capture my attention more than the drawing and painting. And then I went to school and to college, and I was a good student in math and science, and I was accepted to study not what I really wanted. I wanted to study at the art academy, but I was accepted to study engineering for the great joy of my parents, who thought that I will take more like a their path. But after 1 year of studying engineering, I went back home and told my parents, no, I cannot do that. And after applying for 3 years at the art academy, I was finally accepted. And that's how you know, through some um, indirect, maybe not immediately going into arts, but that's how my life was shaped by these very early years with my grandma, and then art school, and then the first job I got was at a theater company, which kind of maybe if you think about what makes you different, the different is this experience at the theater that I had very early on and that I continue working until now. um, it's exactly that aspect of the humanism of the arts, and no other art form I know than the theater is more of that, exactly seeing our lives on stage, you know. So working in the theater kind of probably shaped me into that way to use human forms and to try to not just represent in a representational way to draw them, but through them, through deforming them, through making them symbolic or stylized or streamlined, or sometimes very realistic also, but through this visual language to tell a story. So yeah, so that's my path. But most importantly, what probably has shaped me as an artist is my own experience. I think I've learned more by just doing things and just being active nonstop. So I think, yeah, from all these influences from early age to going through all kinds of schooling in the arts, and not only arts, and then my work experience that kind of blended in and made me into who I am today.
Great, I love that. Question four, some people struggle with, and the question is, what does your future look like?
I wish I knew. We live in such times where everything changes so fast. And I'm sure all of us ask this question, what's our future? In an ideal world and setting, I would love to keep doing what I'm doing, but mm, everything around us changes, and we have to think where we stand, not only as artists but citizens and just ordinary people. But yes, I would love to just do what I do and exhibit and try different mediums, and I will never get tired about seeing people's reaction and just being inspired by that, and collaborating with other artists, like theater or literature. So music, yeah, I collaborate with people like that, and that gives me, first of all, just a lot of joy, and then many new ideas. So I would love to be able to do that as long as possible.
Great. And five, we say, is unique to this show. The question is, let's talk about location. How does the notion of place play into what you do?
Well, I've been in New York since 91, so that's a long, long time. And when I look back, I can see how the city, New York City, has changed. Uh, I think this is a great place if you want to come and try to show your best, because what I saw in these first years in New York in the 90s and 2000s, everybody I met, they were driven by the same idea like me. I'm here to show my best. I'd like to challenge myself to do even better than what I can. So definitely New York is very stimulating, especially back in those years. I read somewhere, I forgot who said it, but they felt like there were vitamins in the air, and you really feel just absolutely energized. And to me, that was really really exciting. In recent years, and then I've traveled a lot in the U.S. and abroad. I still love New York. I just feel that, especially in recent years, the city lost a little bit of that drive. To me, I think, unfortunately, a lot of art galleries and theaters no longer exist because it's not possible for them to do that. And I think we are in a time and world where art is probably getting more decentralized, because I see a lot of interesting stuff happening outside of New York. And I'm still here, but I'm open to other places. But this drive that New York had for me back in those days is something that was amazing for me. I never thought that, again, through my work, I came to the United States for an exhibition which was organized in Fort Collins, Colorado. And then on my way back, I stopped in New York, and never thinking that I will stay here for all these years. But I was hired to do drawings for the New York Times book review. And that opened so many other possibilities for work. So I followed the law and the rules, and I became a first green card holder and then an American citizen. And then my life has been here all these years. So the location is great, yes, but think about the internet, the connection that we have now with people from all over the world, and the distance doesn't look as impossible as it used to be 20, 30 years ago. So I think location may be overrated sometimes. I don't know. But there was a time where location was a place, not just because of your zip code or your phone number, but just a place where a lot of like-minded people gathered and our lives crossed and we kind of enrich each other. So that was New York for me in these first years. Um, Maybe we are just in a period where there is a little bit of a decline of all that atmosphere. Maybe it will come back again. But there are other places where people do amazing things, and I'm open to that as well, you know. Yeah, that's my answer to this. I don't know how it looks from the outside when you think about. I've often speak with young people and they tell me, "Oh, but it's so important to be in this and that place." I said, "Yes, maybe it's important, but it's not the place; it's the people." So that to me is another way to shape this question. It's not so much about the physical location, but the people that are you are surrounded with. And nowadays we can be connected with people very far away and feel like we are in the same physical place.
Great, perfect. Number six, if you had to start from the beginning, what advice would you give your former younger self?
I think I would probably do the same. And I think when my parents they did it with the best intentions when they try to discourage me from being an artist. I know that they did it with a lot of love and understanding, but I would never discourage anybody who wants to be an artist. You don't have to be a starving artist. You can do well if you just really devote yourself and try to do the best that you could do. And if you put your heart into it, people always respond. So yeah, I would do the same. I would do absolutely the same.
What's a day in your life like?
Well, usually begins with checking the emails and trying to answer as fast as I can, and then work, maybe try to avoid distractions. And Depending on the project I'm working on, um, it involves if I say I do an exhibition and I have to talk with other people and discuss technical details and all that, and that's part of which is not maybe very creative, but it involves the final presentation of your work, so it has to be done well. So I do that, but I find myself being more concentrated on my work later in the day after the phones and the emails have stopped. So yeah, maybe in recent days I would say sometimes even 1/3 of the day can be just organization and emails and stuff, and 2/3 of the work day, which is not 8 hours. I would normally work like I would say 10 hours, minus that interruption. So, but I never feel like I work, it's always, I always enjoy it. So, but yes, trying to minimize distractions, and nowadays it's so easy to be distracted. So it's kind of a self-discipline you have to develop if you really want to concentrate, and coming up with ideas requires exactly that. You cannot come up with ideas if you are being constantly distracted by some notifications or social media or something. I was a victim of that too, maybe 10, 15 years ago, until I realized that no, that does not help in any way. You have to really concentrate. So that's what I say usually to young people when I do workshops and have to answer questions from art students. I always tell them this: try to concentrate.
Hmm.
And I myself really discipline myself to be like that during the day.
Great. And eight is around lifelong learning. It's a popular topic. How do you stay up to date?
What like what could you repeat like a lifelong learning
Yes,
movement?
lifelong learning is a popular topic. How do you stay?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. Absolutely. Um, I have worked with artists in the theater who were in their 90s and they still continue to learn about things, you know. So definitely it's a lifelong learning. Mm, In our visual art, where technology plays such a big role recently, and then they come up with new and new tools that seemingly we have to learn if we don't want to be replaced by them. Yes, you have to be on top of that, but you have to learn not only in your field, but you have to learn about everything that's happening in the world, because also that's how you generate ideas. If we want mm, to develop our real natural intelligence, not the artificial intelligence that gathers stuff that already exists, that's what we need to do. We have to learn and we have to stay engaged with what's happening and around the world. And mm, that's the only way if you want to have longevity in any field you do.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, and nine is about tools. Do you use both digital and non-digital tools?
Yes, yes, but the process for me always begins with the most basic drawing and sketching. And the when I would finalize an image that supposedly has to be printed or used in any kind of way, I also prefer to do this with brushes and paint and just on a texture paper, so you can really feel the organic tools that this image has been made. But all of the work I do after that has to be digitalized. If it's reproduced in large posters or prints, or even if I do a big like what I'm doing now, a sculpture, even this has to be digitalized, even 3D digitalization. So, but I want in everything that's been reproduced in some kind of mechanical way to have that trace of the drawing and the tools that I naturally have, my hands, my eyes, my drawing and painting tools. No digital tool can replace this spontaneous and organic look of a real physical painting or drawing tool. So yes, and I try to use the best in the field in digital tools, but like I said, my creative studio, if you just go and see my desk, it looks really like just drawing and painting desk with a lot of sketches everywhere and all that. And then I have a computer area where I need to digitalize. I would scan and prepare it and all that. Mm, I was mentioning to you that when I first came to New York, when I started doing these drawings for the New York Times, that was before the email, before digital age. So we had to deliver there our original drawings, and then there was a production department that would photograph them and get them ready for print. Nowadays, these departments don't exist if you do work for publishing. So they expect the artists to be available and to do all the pre-production work. So they ask you to send them digitalized image. So you have to do it, and that in a way that takes a lot of time sometimes, but the good part is that you have full control of how something will be reproduced. So yeah, to that extent I use the digital tools, but not in the actual process where I um, start with ideas or when I execute the final finished piece. And I have the original work with me, and oftentimes I exhibit that next to some larger scale prints so people can see the actual image that was created in this most traditional ways and techniques.
Great. And how do you deal with work-life balance?
Just I don't have any issues. My family, they know me, and I always have time for them. And I have artists in my family, so what I do is not abnormal for them. So yeah, I mean, I just I just feel happy about that. I told you that my grandmother was an artist, and um, I think all other members of my early family, my grandfather and mom and dad, they were all in science, but she was the artist, and everybody loved that because she created so much beauty around her. So in my own life, I have the same situation. So the balance is good. It's working well.
Great. And if you weren't doing what you do now, what might you be doing?
Hmm. Well, I think going back to these very, very early times when I had decided for myself that I want to become an artist. And I had interest in science, and I was fascinated by math and that the challenge of math, of solving an issue and just the abstract element of it. But it seemed to me very dry back then and something that does not have that excitement like the arts. But when you get older and when you start think about these big questions in life, what is exactly this universe that we are in, and is art at all possible for the art to give these answers to these big, big questions? Sometimes you feel science is closer to um, answering the big fundamental questions of the purpose of life or universe. But then I go back and say to myself, but the art provides the moral compass of all of it, because science alone, if it does not have the moral compass, for example, you see, you can do viruses that kill people, or you can use the most advanced technology to create weapons that kill people. And art is exactly there because science without the moral compass, without even the appreciation of beauty, is meaningless. So I would think I would keep doing exactly where I am now. I will keep doing art, but sometimes I feel maybe if there was a possibility to try something else, I would like to advance maybe studies in physics or something like that. But this is just I think quite naive. If we had two lives, or if we can clone ourselves, maybe. But uh, all of these disciplines, they require the same full devotion as to be an artist. So yeah, I would stay with the arts, I think.
Great.
So yeah.
And what would you not like to do with your career?
Hmm. Well, I would say I like everything about it. There are situations. I don't want to even talk about it, but you know that in the arts, like in every other field, there is a lot of competition, and it can be unfair sometimes, and it can make you feel down and just that you don't want to be part of that. But then you think this is all human nature, and probably my experience in the theater teaches me that that's how we are. We are not perfect, so in the end, the good always is prevailing in a way. But I accept everything about it. I'm ready for any challenge, and I think also the fact that I work with so many people has made me a good psychologist somehow. So I can easily understand. I feel sometimes how people what people think, or what triggers them to do this or that. And I'm a forgiving person, so I always look positive, and I like everything about my work.
Great. And do you have a favorite word, quote, or sentence?
It's hard to think about that. Not really. I was thinking again, going back to my work in theater, if you have to read a Shakespeare play and try to visualize that, and I've done not only posters, but I've done some video projections and stuff. But when you read Shakespeare, almost every line can be your favorite quote, you know. So I have so many favorites. I don't have like a slogan or kind of one sentence that defines me. No, it's probably different for every every situation I feel I'm in. So I
Do
don't have that.
you have a least favorite?
No, not really, not really. No, but mm, I wouldn't say I have a least favorite quote, but I don't like certain situations. Definitely more like um thinking more about the society that we live in, you know. To me, the perfect society and situation to live as an artist is the one that allows you maximum freedom. When you feel that your freedom is being restricted in ways, sometimes obvious, sometimes hidden, I don't like that, okay? And I was born back in times when in Eastern Europe, in Bulgaria, where the communism was still in power, and even when I was a when I was a kid, I was protected by my family, by especially my grandmother, in that really bubble of the beautiful home that she had created and the art atmosphere. So I didn't feel so much the oppression of this regime. But when I went to study art, and for the brief time I stayed there after I finished art school, I definitely felt that this situation did not allow you to be free 100%. And coming to New York, that was probably one of the reasons that I felt like there was vitamins in the air. It was this absolute feeling of freedom. So when I see, especially nowadays, how the politics have changed so much that you feel that you don't feel as free as before. You just feel the same tactics of communism being used. Even here in New York, that definitely is something I don't like, but it's not a phrase, but you can definitely hear it as phrases in the speeches of these politicians and stuff. So, but that's probably kind of the answer that I'm giving you is far away from the question. But just a phrase is nothing, you know, you can say anything, but to me it's rather feeling the spirit of the times and feeling the changes in society that can make me kind of my antennas just sense something that I remember back from years and years ago when I was growing up in a very oppressive and limiting way of expressing, you know, back in these dark ages of communism. So um, this, in a way, what I'm telling you now is probably what I'm using in my work just to speak against that, you know, because definitely as someone who had seen this opposing way of social structure, I definitely want to preserve what we have here, the freedom and um, unrestricted way of expressing ourselves. So, but that was a very long answer. Maybe went too far away from what you asked me to tell you. Yeah.
No, it's great. Okay, so you're choosing one word to describe yourself. What word do you choose?
Hard worker. It's two words, I suppose, but yeah, hardworking person. Yeah.
What keeps you up at night?
Mm, Probably a deadline. A deadline. And mm, I'm maybe yes, really. If I know that I have to finish something important in the morning, I sometimes would dream about it, you know. But I would not just waste my time just thinking about something. I will wake up in the morning and just grab it by the horns and do it, you know. That's the person I am. it's not just thinking, but you have to really do what you think. And I sleep well, but if I'm under something that is really tight as a deadline or a big thing that has some technical issues, that will definitely made me sleep less and made me wake up early in the morning and try to do it at the best that I can.
Great. And do you have a dream you're chasing?
Uh, no, I don't chase a dream. Like I told you, I wish I could do what I do as long as I can, and then yeah, no, that's all. I don't chase a dream. I just do it.
Great. And last few here, what inspires you?
Mm, in a very short way, life. I'm inspired by all the people around me. They don't have to be um, famous artists or high achievers, just the ordinary people, just life, just with the good and the bad players. All this is very inspirational, and that gives me endless amount of ideas for new work. Yeah, and of course, a big inspiration comes from just enjoying other forms of art like music, literature, theater, but also the everyday events that we listen on the news or read about, or just by being on the subway and seeing what people do. Everything inspires me.
Great. And do you have any advice you'd like to share?
If this advice is to someone who would like to be an artist, I would just tell them to work hard and to be prepared that art is not an easy job, not an easy profession. It requires the same type of devotion as you would like to be anything else. You cannot do it. There is no shortcut in the arts, and the tools that we use may seem like they give you a shortcut to something, but it's not that. You have to understand the purpose of art is to uplift people, to teach them something that will help them in their own lives, and to provide that moral compass so that, as far as I know, no computer software comes with these functions. You have to learn that in your own life and discover something. You will discover new things. You will become different than anybody else if you do it with consistency and with really a lot of hard work.
Great. And finally, number 20, how can our listeners follow you and what's our call to action?
The best way is if they check my website, lukova.net. And I try to keep presence on the social media, but I put in detail about events and publications on my website. And my email and phone number are there, and I answer to all emails and phone calls. So my website is the best way. And if I'm in a place where you are, I would love to see you in the gallery or a museum. So definitely, I love meeting people and talking with them. So, yeah.
Great. Well, thanks so much. It's such a pleasure to have you on today and such a privilege as well. Thanks so much for joining.